just push the live button, just push the live button. That's what it's really like for me over here, man. I'm like, man, once you push that live button, you can't go back, man. Just push the live button. Wholeness Tribe, it's definitely great to be in here again. GLM, God Love Money, talking about the big things, everything that's happening in life, what's going on, connecting with tribe, making it a habit. It's like sometimes in this whole path, you just get into the habit of being in a cave. Like you get in the habit of really just containing your energy field and, and flying through this and doing everything that you can. You know how you work to not get compromised if you're going to be the one that you feel is responsible for assisting even just your family. Like I know many of us are going through this experience where it's really us that feel like that we're responsible for even making sure that our family members stay afloat and, keep getting some kind of nourishment, some kind of love, some kind of, something that's not artificial, right? So, the more of us that can do that, the better off we'll be. So I'm coming in here again because, as I said, I love this tribe. I spent so much time and so much energy and just delved into so many different things to find the truth. I can say for sure that none of that would be fulfilled if we didn't have someone to share it with. And that's what this is all about. So, of course, this is where we get into this 1 hour of power. It's special here on Instagram because they will cut us off in an hour. And we have this little format that we've adapted to, which is 5 minutes of just dialing in the energy, dialing in the space, letting it breathe. And then we're going to have a 25-minute process of connecting with others that are jumping in on the line. There's an option here to actually come in and say something. We say that there's a 3-minute, time limit, just being mindful, to get as many on the line as possible to say something and to connect. And of course, ask any type of questions. Remember that, like in all of this, if we can learn something, well, first and foremost, the connection is priceless, right? Like these days, especially just to be able to vibe, we charge each other. So that's really all, to be honest. If I just sat here in full lotus every single day for, 15 minutes and just pointed this thing at a waterfall, millions of views. I guess it's only when I start saying things that may appear to, test the consciousness a bit about where we're at that I would actually, get a little thumbs down and a dislike. So I guess that for me has been like this 10 years is still 100,000 subscribers. And of course, the ratio on YouTube is you do anything on YouTube for 10 years. You could just come in and drink water and you should have at least, 200, 300,000 viewers. However, we learned that in all of this, we have the early bloomers, as was mentioned on this post in Secret Energy. There's some who just bud first, like the fruit on the tree that's already ripe. And it's most important that you have something to do too, as we're going through this process of awakening the entire being on the entire tree. So there's also another aspect to this, and it's where we answer questions. So that means for the last 15 to 20 minutes of GLM, I'll sift through the questions. Instagram has got it figured out. They have an area where you just type in your question, you hit send, and it comes up in a nice little Apple looking card for me. And I'm able to do some rapid fire towards the end of this and actually really, get some questions answered. Now, yesterday we got in here, we had one of the goddesses with the doula, and, we had my brother Andrew Seeley, who I look forward to building with here in Costa Rica. And actually we always had Aisha on the line. So we went in, and through that, there was some knowledge revealed. And so just remember that if there's other folks that are definitely looking and coming in, other tribe members coming in to really get some answers to some stuff and some deep answers, some new solutions. That's the thing about, this whole thing is we always have solutions for something. So sometimes when we approach something and we do that as a collective, what we call the co-creation, something comes up and it'll flow right through. That's just how you should tune your consciousness anyway. So that way you can receive directly whatever it is that you need. So it's almost like having a system where the moment that you need it, it's there. And when you don't, it's not blocking the channel. I wasn't going to say think about that, but that actually is the difference between thinking and not thinking. Not thinking or unmovable, there's nothing in the slot. There's no new idea coming. There's nothing else to say. There's no idea to follow on. It's vacant right there. And that's a level of complete trust, because if that's open, some people feel uncomfortable with that being open. They're like, well, what am I going to do? What do I need to do next? What do I need to, it's like I need to fill that void with something. And this is because the consciousness, it feels uncomfortable, as I mentioned. It feels uncomfortable when it doesn't recognize the things around it. They've done many experiments like this. You've been through this experience in your life. If all of a sudden you wake up and you don't recognize anything around you, it's like, I don't know, somebody put you in the trunk of the car, open up the trunk in a whole new world, and you step out the trunk and you're like, you're going to go through so much anxiety and fear. You would think that, oh yeah, I'll be okay. Yeah, you'll probably be all right, hopefully. But the mind is going to be like, where's the chairs? Where's mom? Where's the smells? It's going to try to grasp onto so many things that it can identify. And of course, many of us been through this process when we go on a journey, because everything starts turning into something else if it still even remains solid. Some stuff just disappears. And then now your mind is scrambling, trying to find out how to identify this new space that you're melding into. And that's how I also realized that a big part of this was really about adaptation. That the beings that had lived, for a prolonged period, especially in nature, they have been able to do so because they could adapt to the new terrain really fast. So the moment something changed, they changed with it. And I realized that was also the key in going into many of these journeys, was I just had to really be comfortable with that my consciousness was on point to make an adaptation. So I didn't need to kind of search for where am I at, who am I with, what happened, who are these people, which would be blocking the channel and decreasing the energy. I would just wait for it to just wash over. Like I was saying, somebody was talking about, communicating and getting downloads. And I mentioned, when you hear that ringing in the ear, what you do is you just turn the channel, and then it comes through the channel filters and it just tells you, what it is. But to get that open, you have to be personally comfortable with yourself. You have to be able to trust the process. This is the key to many things. When you need to feel confident, because all of a sudden this is not happening overnight. You jumped into a study that some monks take 20, 25 years to unlock, and you expect it to go on tomorrow so you can pay rent. And, it could get a little frustrating in that moment, but you got to say that mantra to yourself. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust that if you got this far, that whatever allowed you to get this far, because you can even demark how far you are. You can actually look at some of your other reflections, other people. This is what's great about us being together. And you can see really sometimes how far they are away from reaching a certain level of consciousness. This is not a judgment. It's an observation. And then from that observation, you can then empower yourself by giving thanks that, hey, I made it this far. And then you can trust, because it's really like a mathematical equation you can do. You can literally say, well, shoot, if I make it this far, that obviously means something, which is the higher self, has a vested interest in making sure that I get through this. And it generally has more of the things like integrity, making sure that it follows through on what it said it was going to do, rather if anybody is watching or not. Sometimes it's all good when everybody's on your team and everything, and people listen to people that's what's happening, but with them. But hey, what is the value? What is the value that we're giving, to ourselves and of our words and in our consciousness and what we're saying to ourselves if we don't trust ourselves? So let's just trust the process. So with that being said, it's about 10 minutes after, and I want to jump into this today. And as we always do about this time, this is when we go in and we build with brothers and sisters that have 3 minutes on GLN to come in, ask a question, or make a statement, whatever, share love. And also remember that, you know, if it's getting good, for those that are in the chat, if you can remember, there's keep going, because if we don't see the keep goings, then, you know, we feel like, okay, let's open this up and, you know, let somebody else oscillate into this space. So I'm going to open this up for Certified Health Nut, you know, Troy Casey. See how he's vibing and riding out here on Saturday. And he's connected now. Wholeness.
It's Troy Casey, Certified Health Nut, reporting live from planet Earth. We're here in Sedona, baby. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, my God.
Hold on, man. Wow, man, that looks like a painting.
Oh, my God. This keeps me on the straight and narrow.
I feel you, bro.
You feel the majesty of this planet here in Sedona. And
yes,
it's such a sacred land of healing. So I wanted to transmit some of the love that's coming out of Sedona to you guys and all your work, my brother. I've been following you for years, man. God bless you, man. Peace on earth is coming, baby. All the goodness is coming. The quantum leap is, we're riding that wave right now, baby. I'm facing my shadow and doing the work, and God bless us all, baby.
Yes, we here now. We're here now. And that's feels good to be out of that egg. And then now, and we're in another one. This is what I love about this infinite existence. Every time we think we leave in mother's house, we're in mother's house again.
That's right. That's right.
So, ooh, man, and then out there vibing high on that Sedona energy, you know, let us all take a breath. You know, just realize y'all think this Ethernet and that stuff was created. You know, there was already Ethernet. There was already Ethernet, and you're connected to it now. So with us all being here together in alignment, we give thanks.
And let me tell you, this place is lit up, man. And there's certain places that are lit up. I know Hawaii's not my energy. It's some people's sacred land. This place is electrifying, and you can't really turn it off. It's like free all the time. And so it shines on all the work that I need to do. So I get to keep facing myself every day and thank God for the majesty of these mountains and the majesty of this planet and all the work and the honoring of this planet. This keeps me on the straight and narrow. I am blessing myself every single day and thanking God and just being grateful. And even if the pain is coming up for my little shadow shenanigans, I'm still going to face it, baby. We're riding the wave together, man. Peace on earth is coming, baby.
Let's do it. It's done.
I love you, brother. I love you so much.
I love you too, brother.
You're awesome. We'll talk soon.
Definitely, brother. Man, thank you so much for coming into the space and sharing. And we with you.
God bless everyone out there. God bless. God bless.
Wow. You know what? There's some very, very special people, you know, here with this tribe. And that's what I'm saying, man. Y'all see, I get, it just gets me. That's why 10 years went by so fast for me, because, man, it was like, it wasn't a moment where every single day, you know, there wasn't someone, even if you just saw them in the chat, even if it was just a comment, even if you just kind of saw them riding by, it was just so much love expressed. This network is literally, to me, I would say 98% full power on full spectrum, everything that's going to take you to another level within yourself. And as we always say, you go inside and you find us all. And that's really how it works. And that makes you responsible for the energy that you're bringing to others. Because you see how, you know, you just get a perfect example from that elderly force coming through, dives in right from Sedona, gives us a little glimpse. And more than anything, the essence of, you know, the connection, the love, and just, but it's for all of us. And, you know, this is what I've consistently worked to do. If anyone learns anything from me, it's that if something comes to you, let it pass through you. That's how it was brought to me, and it made perfect sense. It said, well, Seven, you don't want to hold it, because if you hold it, you'll just explode. Let it pass through you. And like a pipeline, it will coat the walls of your energetic system as it's flowing through. And that's more than enough. And so it's just continuously cycling this love and cycling this connection and empowering others. And this is, again, a major part of where we're now at with everything that we're building, is really seeing now that it's time for those who have a message and have done much work with themselves and are now ready to come into a mentorship with someone that they're a perfect key for, that they'll have that opportunity to make that connection to fulfill again what it is as our oaths and our vows that we make to each other. Because I have some evidence to prove this has all been moving backwards actually for quite a bit of time, unless you kind of dip into some hyperspace. And so what that means is that really we've already met before. And when we start coming into the awareness of that, we start realizing that there were agreements even that we made with each other. Like sometimes you could be in your DNA. Okay, so let's get into this really briefly. So in your DNA, there sometimes is a slight confusion with the idea of a past life versus just the code or the experience that is inside of the DNA. And then now you're sharing that DNA. So you could be regressed and see yourself in another life, and you'd be like, well, I was, a train operator in I don't know, in Britain in the 1800s. And it's kind of like, yeah and no. The instance, that's the best way to say it, the instance of you now is a fresh instance. And what you're really recalling is the ones that you are also borrowing the DNA from, i.e. your parents and your ancestors. And this is why it became so important for us to adapt to the awareness of how to maintenance the chain, which is basically being able to be the one that takes the responsibility for surfacing the DNA in your line. And that way, the next being to inherit it, which you would pass it on to, you pass it on when you even touch a doorknob and someone come and touch that same doorknob behind you, when you sneeze and all this DNA, they show you it's on everything. They could do some, go around the house and be a bunch of DNA everywhere. So you're passing it on there. So with you working on your DNA and really getting it balanced, every time you leave it somewhere and it gets onto someone else, it starts giving that DNA, like it gives it another template, and the DNA is just going to run with the best template. That's how it is. It's like, okay, this one looks more refined. This one is more unlocked. And this is, again, how we charge each other, because each of us have this connection when we get ourselves balanced. That is a unique connection that we can share with others, and it takes them into that next stage of themselves. So let's keep going. And we're going to go ahead and bring in, all right, we got our sister Jamie here. We're going to bring her in. This is Jamie with 3 eyes. Oops. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Jamie with 3 eyes, wholeness and balance vibration says, let's see what we can do right now. It takes a minute to connect it, but I think it's on point now. Wholeness.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm feeling great.
I'm so happy and elated.
You look like it.
my request. Just have this surge of energy. I thank you. I feel so blessed, and I was one of the, I like to think, OG members. I was in the WhatsApp chat when that was a thing. And I also called in on one of the Keymaker episodes and got to speak with you and Brother Mark, and it was really monumental, and just a download of information that was so everything that I needed at that time. And I'm sitting here now just feeling so much gratitude, and the knowledge that I receive, and the guidance that assists me to do the work that I'm always doing on myself until I, am born into another reality somewhere else. But I just am so grateful to you, and for everything that you've created. And it was just so synchronistic when I came upon it. And it's really, really impacted my life very much. So my experience.
Wow. And this is why, once again, this could be addicting, assisting each other. And as it catches on with more and more of us, we could definitely see how all this is really going to come together. Like even a lot of the things that we're doing now are just really the fill-ins, because how this is really, really happening is it's like an energetic level of us coming to the awareness of how we're seeing ourselves and how we, like I said, we should trust ourselves because we're never going to leave each other behind, right? And all of the different things that happen to get us to a point where we're ready to apply something. It's just life works in such a unique way. It's not always the good things that bring us into our highest level of awareness. But man, I commend you also, sister, just for your resonance, because we have a firm belief in tribe that even when we get a chance to connect into this space like this, there's more behind the scenes that's happening. And it also means, congratulations to you, because you're making an amazing progress with yourself. And you know what? As I have often said, the proof of wisdom is in the type of people that it produces. And just to see you there glowing is letting everybody know, this is what we have as a tribe together. And so thank you so much. And obviously, if you have anything that you want to say or ask, it's here for you.
Wow. I've written down in notebooks that I have like questions that I would love to ask you, which is why I was calling in on the Keymaker episodes. And now that I'm here, I'm just like, there's so much energy that just came up. Like I can't stop smiling. I just feel so much gratitude that I'm trying to get into my, intellectual, like where I love to, talk and dive deep.
Yeah.
I would say a question that I want to ask you would be any insight into, I've had quite a journey filled with a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of physical pain, and a lot of ailments of always feeling like I'm not well and wanting to thrive, wanting to live my best life. And I feel like I'm coming into that right now, but it's been just like, feels like a 7-year, like Uranus or one of the planets is just in my sign, just pounding on everything. So I want to find meaning. I believe that we're meaning givers. It helps me process and work through my experience as to, did I choose these experiences, or trying to find meaning in the pain? Because I found a lot of transformation and a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge gained, but more so like, what part of my soul did I choose this? Is it, contracts that I've had with certain souls or people? But it's been constant for the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, just to really, really bring it full circle to what I was saying in the beginning with the context of our build today, it's really about that DNA chain. And what's happening here is it's great that this life, okay, so pain is payment, right? We talked about that, and how this is a universe. So this is university, there's a tuition, right? So there's actually a price that needs to be really paid in pain, that is really the recompense for the lessons that are actually being taught and the beings that are actually teaching that lesson. That's what they demand, if you may, in order to mesh out that lesson, just like we've learned in life that our masters have sometimes been very distorted, meaning they've taught us something, but definitely not somebody we really want to jump in the class with again. So then what happens is, as I said, it's easy to ride the chain, meaning a person coming in and out of lives, especially if they come in a life and the DNA has been already refined. Like many of us have actually inherited bodies where the DNA was very refined and may have even squandered that and didn't, what you would say is pay it forward, make sure that there is a check and balance system in the consciousness to how much I'm spending and how much I'm actually giving and how much I'm actually taking. And this is where we find ourselves at in these lives, because we have our parents and our parents' parents and our parents' parents have come through a sequence of basically just riding into the DNA, utilizing it for what it's capable of doing, racking up a bunch of debt, and then passing off that to us. And so we used to have so many different ways to straighten that out. And that's what, you would see a shaman really equipped with, was just multiple ways to balance things out. And they had different ways that people wouldn't even understand of how to really clean that energy. But now we're our own shamans, and because we're sitting in the experience, have come up with ways to begin that process of refining it and cleaning it. And that is so that as we pass on to this, we're immortals already. Immortality is just a reference to if you're conscious once you go on from this. And so there's like, so when you ask, okay, hey, did I ask for this? If there's a question there, that's where there's no consciousness. So meaning that I don't remember, I get flashes or whatever, but I don't remember a past life. I don't remember where I agreed to this. So and I had to go deep into this lesson, to make this all clear, because this has a lot to do with other kind of mechanics. And I sought for ways to try to explain those mechanics. And what it really came into was that at the end of this life, your mind, your body, and your soul, which are they're binded together, they come to the end of their term. And they choose if they're going to continue to go on, because the body is synthesized. It gets consumed inside of the ground and then turns into a gas. The soul gets synthesized, or what you would call the spirit, and then the mind or the memories, they start becoming synthesized. But these are different bodies. That's why they call it the holy marriage, because the marriage is all those bodies are all those elements coming together. So what happens then is that if you can live your life to the completion where there is a contentment, like you don't feel like that your mind ended up getting the best of you, or your body didn't do this right for you, or, your spirit wasn't, because at the end of life, there's like let's balance out. Are we going to go on with this relationship, or are we going to split apart? This is what's going on in those moments after death. If you can get your mind, your body, and your soul's synthesis which is something that can be accomplished in this life, to agree to move on, you go on with your memories, and you go on with other things that we're not even really considering that we have. And this is important if we want to recall whatever happened, because if we move on and we decide to split, because that's what death is, or die is to split, right? So if we choose to split at that point, then generally you separate from the actual substance, if you may, that contains your memories. So then there is no memory. And that is like literally saying, hey, I'm not going to re-engage you. Literally, I'm going to move on and move away. So this is why we work this life to get to that point where even when we've gone through all these experiences, to realize that if we move any of that out of the way, and some of those experiences are extremely traumatic, but if we move any of them, then we cannot be where we're at now. And so if we're not content with where we are at right now, then we're always digging through that, trying to move that around, trying to wish that never happened. And all that would do at the end of the term would be to say, I don't want to recall that. I don't want to balance at all with that and to continue with that. But make no mistake, because some believe that when you die, you leave your body like a spirit and you go on. And this is because they're used to saying the mind, body, and the soul. And we do that in order to have like a conversation where we can actually have them in categories where we can speak on them separately. But on the depth level, we don't really separate them because nothing is really separate. So we then can come to the awareness the body is synthesized into another thing when you die. and it now takes on its next manifold, and so do the rest, as I mentioned earlier. And if they can remain together, as I said, now they go forward with all the memories and conscious immortality, which is really what many beings are actually searching for once they have gone through these cleansing processes and come into a greater understanding of the meaning of life. So that's what we have now, sister. And, you know, these, again, are signs letting us know our benchmarks and our milestones, where exactly we're at with this. And as we keep increasing more, there's a lot of energy and intention just being put into making sure that we also have beings that are around us that are making sure we stay refreshed in that way. Not really kind of, you know, we have beings that we're servicing all the time that need assistance. These are other human beings that need assistance from us, but also beings that we're harmonized with, and there's not anything really that's needed more than the common cycling of energy that keeps us all, you know, encouraged about this journey and this quest that we're on. So, you know, I trust that, you know, makes, you know, makes some sense for you, you know, and beyond that, we can always go into the heart space, and that's where we all are at. So, yeah. Let's keep going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sis. I mean, it's great seeing you, and I look forward to our continuous builds on all these new things that we're doing.
Me as well. Thank you so much.
All right, wholeness.
Wholeness.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a little rapid fire because we're about 30 minutes past the hour. And kind of put my little water over here. And actually, we're going to keep it going here. Let me see what we got going on in here. Got all types of buttons over here for me to press. All right, so yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll jump in with another one of our tribe members. You know what? I've seen Mr. Daniels over here, Mr. Miles. We got a chance to do a show. We lit it up. And I think I got a, you know, for Mr. Miles. So let's say, what's up, Mr. Miles? Wholeness.
Hello.
There he is.
How are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing it, man. You see how it is, man. We was, you know, this is pretty much the same view we had last time when we built. I guess that was about 5 years ago.
Yeah, man. It's the same kind of time of morning as well. How are you doing?
Man, I mean, feeling rejuvenated as long as I can consistently come in and just keep having that purpose fresh on my consciousness. You know, that purpose these days needs to be like right there, or, you know, there is some clouds out there. So I'm doing well as long as I can just keep being here with the family. That's really where, you know, things are really centering in for me right now. What about you?
Well, I've been admiring your work. I mean, I've been seeing you continue to show up. Like, we did the Consistent Sunday podcast earlier this year, supporting the tribe. And the last video I watched of your work was earlier this week. I think you did it a few months ago, but you were getting together with some of the people that you do your videos with, like your group of people, and you're doing the videos on the key makers on the life paths. And I watched the Life Path 8 one, and it was so useful because it's treading water in the laws of commerce, like how to, as you said earlier in this video, about trust that we build with ourselves. Because in the patriarchal system, we've always been out in the lights, projecting ourselves into this atmosphere, rather than coming in and conducting ourselves within our own space, which we've had the invitation to this year embrace more than ever. And yet we're always in the action with our projects. And so to get the ambience, to get the biting point in equality and spending enough time inward, as well as in the action in the sandpit, creating of our projects which we love, which we're infatuated with, that brings us out here. But to get that biting point is something which I'm practicing with at this current time still.
Yeah.
With all of these massive distractions, like, obviously we're not here to trust the these leaders so much as because that can choke us. Puts us in a stranglehold. I feel like we are here to lead ourselves, and like and then in these times we gaze across at each other. Like I gaze across at what you're doing as an equal, and everybody that you've had on the video so far. Like we're all equals, and we can take a little bit from what everybody's doing when it comes to how we can lead ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, you know, I know in this generation there is, you know, this is the generation of the rebels. So, you know, when having kids, you really see that the child definitely feels like that it's capable of leading itself. And sometimes in English, we just have like so many of we have one word to explain so many different things. So in other language, you find they have several words. And so it's like there is the leadership, or basically being able to stand upright and not really be so dependent. But then there's also the awareness that we actually have this tiered ecosystem, not even if you add governments or anything, but nature, where we actually are being mentored and are learning from different aspects of self. And there's a resistance again in the reality towards taking on any kind of tutelage because there's so much abuse just in that structure itself. So a lot of the things are like the lesser of two different evils, and we're having to accept, okay, I need to be my own instructor because I don't really also want to go out here and get caught up in somebody else's web, that because we have a lot of misguided instructing, right? So also bringing balance into life, like we were building on the elements just recently, but what happens is like right now I'm in the jungle, right? And I still get what comes off the internet, what comes off of just people's mind, like somebody may visit the property, may cut the lawn. So even then it's already a decent amount for me to pick up on it being anywhere near empathic, right? So if I happen to plop down in even an apartment building where there is, you know, at least 50 or 60 souls all in that nucleus processing something, that's like where my testing comes in, right? And because I'm going to have to maintain my field, you know, at least while I'm in that space. And what happens if that's where I live, right? Because I never am able to make it out and kind of like recharge, patch up my walls, and then come out. And so that's what's happening these days and then also, again, putting these things into their proper perspective. Like we like to first adapt to the idea that this is the patriarchal tradition that is actually responsible for the system that we're actually in. But it's actually an element specifically, and it's the negative fire element. And the reason why it's more precise to call out as an element is because then what's created when we even think that, well, shoot, if this is the patriarchal one, this one is the one causing all the problems, so the patriarchs must be bad. Then that does some damage to the divine masculine and kind of feeds into that agenda. Because then if someone says, well, yeah, if when we were in the matriarch, things were much more better, at least it was about loving and caring, when that would be just a person lensing in maybe on just one patriarchal society, but can't say that for all of the patriarchal societies or matriarchal societies when let's say women were the rulers of that particular nation. And so these are kind of the things where I love to take a moment in my life and always be able to go in like and go into that breath, like a retreat inside of yourself. You know how they always say, yeah, I'm going to this retreat. You know, be able to give yourself something that allows you to be able to come back into all of this even and not feel overwhelmed by it, not feel like that, man, maybe I'm pushing out so much action that it's not getting me, it's robbing me from my connection with my heart space, right? And that time and attention that I need inside. And each person as going from a neophyte to adept, that's would be what it's all about, is understanding how to balance out everything so that you have a good launch pad. So whether you decide to take off or support others on the ground, you can actually do both rather securely. And so, yeah, brother, as we keep going through this, you know, even for us to be having these kind of conversations with some level of comprehension is something extremely to be grateful for. And I always have to, it's like that mundane, like when things start becoming so complicated, you start finding some solace in the mundane, right? And so that's just that metaphor of that things can get so complicated. Sometimes you really want them simplified. And this is that yin yang aspect of this thing. And it's like that roller coaster that sometimes we're completely in it. And then other times it's just like, you know what, I'm ready to, I'm ready to move on, or I'm ready to adapt to another type of concept. So I try to do my best at simplifying this thing. And so fire, earth, wind, water. This was the recent lesson. And I have a series called The Compass. I may make a part of this series available online. It's just that what we started doing is we started realizing there did need to be a literal process that we go through when we activate certain things or become aware of certain things. If I could do that for you, if I could do that for anyone else, that's even showing more love. Like if I just throw you all the books and say, figure it out, some of us were brought through this that way too. There's lots of different ways. But if someone can assist and say, hey, this is white belt and here's yellow belt, and give us that process, that's really what I felt like, well, to do that on YouTube, that's not even the place for that. So we went to the university and we started step by step by step. Like, let's stop it all right now and just say, what do the core things that we interact with in everyday life really mean? Because we've kind of defined them, especially in English, and even the definition that we've given them is not correct. And then we keep building with the incorrect definition, and then we form what we feel like is the truth, and then we stand on that. And then once something comes and tries that truth, it's obviously going to knock it down. So I got tired of going through that process. And that was when I shifted from the rebel, which was also very instrumental to get me to a certain stage, right, to one who respected the order. Realize that, yeah, just like the gestation in the womb, there's a whole sequence going on in there. And if you know that sequence, you can create life. But if you want to fake like you know the sequence, you're going to keep creating distorted things and things that are aborted. So it's just that, okay, I played with it. I've been serious with it. Now, where's that harmonic in between? So that's what it is, brother. I hope to jump on the show again very soon, because I know how we could go in on this. And, it was more of like more of a monologue right now, but I definitely want to give thanks. And I wanted to let you know I did get your message. So when you're ready to rock, I'm ready.
I'll reach out to you again via email so we could arrange a second interview on my YouTube channel for people watching Unifying Perspectives.
Yeah.
I do the regular astrology content on there, but as a summary, because I know that'll be a great conversation, as a summary for what you've shared, which was valuable, I'm just going to share a direct interpersonal experience of my day quickly. Okay. Today I woke up, I'm a bit embarrassed, it's free, and my hair is a bit of a state, but I think embarrassment brings us right to the core, right? It brings us to our authenticity. Today is like the Sabbath day, Saturn's day, right? It's a bit constriction. I go into my local town, the new rules and regulations, it's a bit of a squeeze for me. But I went to my fresh fruit stall because the bar there, which was selling, like they'd have events at the bar, they can't do business anymore. So the guy's been productive and he's brought all of his equipment up, his juicer up, and he's selling juices out on the side of the road. And that, just having the beautiful colours of the fruits out on the side of the road is exuberant. It brings the joy. Gave me a watermelon. I'm trying to juggle all of these watermelon cups while walking around town. And that made me feel, as the young lady who had on a moment ago, exuberant. And so that's taking your own authority. Like that gentleman, he was a leading example. And this is what I admire, you providing people with the keys, providing people with the opportunities to level up, because that is the opportunity for continued growth. So as an astrologer myself, like what I have loved with you is working with fractal healing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Working with the Fibonacci step. And to self-advertise, what I would like to share is, like, because I directly want to connect with you specifically, is that I see that would love to help facilitate the gift that I have able to share myself as an astrologer, with seeing the Fibonacci process within the progressed chart. Because Saturn takes 28 years to go all the way around the sky, whereas the moon takes 28 days. So Saturn's the farthest archetype we can see of our naked eye, whereas the moon's the nearest, or the one that's about our innermost boundary, our emotional boundary. And so with this progressed chart reading, for instance, if you were born on a full moon, then 14 years later into the progressed chart, you'll have a new moon. So when you're 14 years old, you have a new moon, which by the time you get to 27 or 28 years old, you have a full moon, which means by the time that you're reaching it round again, 14 years later, you know that you're bound to have another full moon or new moon. So anchoring these placements and knowing the Fibonacci golden mean ratio, we can actually really define where we are in time. Basic example: when I was 7 years old, my parents they divorced, because I was born 3/4 of a lunar cycle, a week before a new moon. So when I was seven, this is because it works in this practice of 7 days is 7 years. The sun moves 1 degree every year in the chart, and so basically once it would have moved a quarter of the way through, it's of the moon, which moves 1 degree every 13 every month.
You're going to have to speed it up. They saying on the chat, man, you got to speed it up. This is 1 hour. Like, there's no, and you got 15 minutes and a bunch of questions to run through. So that's what I was saying. We got to get in and we got to really build on this thing, because this sounds like I'll give you 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay,
30 seconds. So
basically, what goes up must come down. It's the wave format. And so, if you had a low format, it's just like the Ferris wheel. It's going to bring you back up. So you scoop up the water and you know your time and place. You may be having a down, but you're going to build and facilitate yourself to go back up with the tide of the wave, rooted so that you know that what you're working on is going to last you the test of time. Saturn, you work with Saturn, you become your own authority. I don't want to show people that this is a tool that you can rely on and teach this. And so we'll do this in our interview together, hopefully, Seven.
Dig it. I'm definitely on deck.
Great for your tribe.
Yeah, I'll come in with what I have on it too. So yeah, let's build on it.
I'm grateful for all of you and everybody watching. You are all fantastic reflections. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. All right,
Enjoy
family. So thank you.
Thank you. And remember that you are the source.
Shouldn't forget it. You need to do me a favor, though. You need to, because I don't have no X button over here. So you're going to, in order for me to see the rest of these questions, you're going to need to actually hit your disconnect button.
Do I have to leave the chat and then you can continue?
Yeah, just it should be some kind of indicator on your side.
Okay, cheers. All the best. Take care.
Okay. All right. So another thing that I wanted to say to everyone here that is on live on the chat today is that also, just in bringing it into balance, since it is Saturday, I noticed this phenomenon, this trend that it seems funny, where everything has to be like WWF or WWE, where we now need to figure out like a rap battle who's, got the best truth. You see what I mean? The reality is that there's so many beings out here that need whatever you have. If you're saying that you got a challenge to what I'm saying and how I'm bringing the knowledge, because I think that was one of the comments that was going on in here, and then Buddy was mad because somehow he couldn't get back in the room or whatever. I just want to let you know that, look, technically, I think my reach is probably about 50,000 people. There is 9 billion people in the world. So if you have so much fire and energy to bring your knowledge and your awareness, even if we both did it, we still wouldn't even scratch the surface to how many people that need it. So the last thing that I really am about at this stage in the journey is jumping into some kind of ring and battling out absolutes because I'm not even trying to make any of this stuff up. You don't have to make any of it up. The laws, the edits, the weights, the measurements, they redundify themselves in the arts, meaning that even if you play piano and you know metaphysically what's going on, you check out the cymatics, you'll then see the symbols. Then you look at the letters, like why the number 2 looks like a swan, et cetera, why different letters and numbers bear witness to hieratic and demotic script. And then it just tells you a story. And this story is taking place, of course, inside of you. And it's taking place in anything that is responsible for your growth, like your mother. And so that's really what I have here. And so I know there's this whole thing that's going around, like it was happening 10 years ago when I jumped into this. Like, I don't know, like even on the Sonetter, it's like, oh, here's this person versus this person. And you never see me participate. You never will see me participate because that's just that's not what I'm actually into. So you could probably run that somewhere else and it will help you there. You'll be able to get it off whatever it is that you're trying to get through. So we're going to do a rapid fire on the questions. This is literally 5 minutes. So we need to really see exactly how much we can get through in this. So one of the questions was, you know, a day in the life, which I did get the sister's request on one of my Instagram stories. And so I hope to boot this thing up and start really showing in 10-second clips or possibly in a video, what does a day in the life really look like and how I'm managing time. I think that would be very important. Also, there's a question here about building a physical community. This is, you know, especially since after this whole situation happened in the world, you know, we see a reoccurring thing once again, where you get people together and if there's no plan, they come into conflict. They come and they bring all of what they still haven't healed or gone through yet right into that space. And like when that's your family, like your tribe, and you grew up with them, like you saw them come out of the person's womb, there is a real responsibility there to be there and to actually walk them through that whole process. But when you're trying to just take someone random, basically, and now bring them into this fold where there's all this energy, you know, because if I've been working for years and just maintaining this energy and balancing this energy, maintaining and balancing it and growing it, you could only imagine then how instrumental it would be for another force to try to come and disrupt that. So that's just another thing. It's like anything precious, you always will get someone that is trying to extract the value from that. So what I've seen, just like I mentioned before, is that the process of really everyone going through certain procedures, certain things that they need to do in their own lives to really balance out before they would come into something physical and then say that they would be there to build something. Because, you know, it's like building a community versus tearing it down. So the next question here is somebody saying, why won't you make contact? What's wrong with me? You got to remember that there is a lot of people hitting up the line. So it's definitely nothing wrong with you. It's definitely that there's literally 2 or 3 people in this span of time that we can jump on the line with. Maybe we do need to get a little bit more strict on the time limits, I could say. And that would just be some constructive criticism, though, because I still believe that everything is relative to what we're doing and how we're experiencing this life. Also, I see that these are also questions, it seems like, from earlier today, which is awesome because now I found out where they put all of them. And so that's good. So since we're at the conclusion of today's build, I do want to say this again. What I did was I put the knowledge and the information in place so that way you can get the knowledge and the information for yourself. And then you technically don't even need me. What this ensures is that if something does occur with me or whatever happens, you still have it anyway. That's really my predominant purpose here. I'm writing down my journey in life and I'm letting others read it as if I don't even, almost in a way that I don't even like I don't even see them reading. And I'm being that candid about, hey, when I wanted to know what was going to happen after death, this is exactly what I was dealing with. And then on top of that, you know, it gets to a level where if I wanted to sit in just in my space, and you'll realize this, like there's a big question at times. It's like, why isn't there any masters out here? Why isn't nobody teaching the youth? Why isn't nobody doing? And it's because, you know what I mean? It's enough to try to figure this stuff out for yourself and then apply it. And then imagine when you're coming into a group of people and you know that they basically, if they're even there, it's because they need something. And then now they're, you know, kind of messing with you and messing with the things going on around you. And so it is really an extreme thing to try to get up in front of anybody and try to tell people anything, especially in this day and age where you got a bunch of people that actually think they know everything. That's where I even had to myself, like coming into this, I was like, man, I knew the blueprint, I knew the codes, but there was still a lot of things, and I'm still learning stuff that, you know, this ain't like an overnight thing. I'm going to have to spend about 5-10 years. I may even have to come back to this to fully learn this. Things about the body, especially, which is really where the temple is, just to sit inside of your own body and actually realize why the order of creation was put together like this and what kind of secrets that ultimately reveals. So there it is there. I wanted to say wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone. Obviously, we'll keep coming into this space sharing love. I'll do some maintenance in here just to make sure that we all have a continuously great experience. And also, you know, just doing the best to remove the trolling, because at the end of the day, you know, trolls going to troll, but, you know, you're going to have to regulate them anyway. So that's what it is. I look forward to building with everyone soon on the next God, love, and money, and what's happening with that and how that's impacting your life. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about cryptocurrency, since I saw that came up a lot. And also we'll get into that daily and how we can really set these regimens right, so that way we can keep that balance and realize why these elements are moving around, because we're about to go into air. It's a big thing. Like we're literally moving from Earth. Once that click happens in December, that final click, we're moving into air. Air has a lot of systematic, disciplinary, like our Oriental culture, you know, how they set up all these systems, Kung Fu and all that. You know, there's a discipline to this next system that's coming through, and you're coming right off the most undisciplined, negative fire, burning up everything, wildfire. And because of that, you can see it's going to be a big check. And that's why I said now it's really about affiliation, because you got to be on point when making sure that the beings that you're around, why things are shifting, that they can actually even be able to take that way in that consciousness. And that's really where we're at this stage. It's like there is power already. Like, again, activation, some folks got that activation down to a pill. But it doesn't mean you're going to stay in that state all the time. You're going to have to come right back to the ground again and figure it out, just like the rest of us. So that's why we work from the foundation, because we know we got to be able to land this thing. So I trust everyone here gets it, and I'll see you soon. Wholeness. Thank you so much.